All right, we're live. Welcome to the KD Ratio Podcast, your place for all things nerd. It's been quite a couple weeks.
You're about to say quite a while, but it really hasn't been that long.
It hasn't been that damn long. It's good to see you, brothers.
Good to see you.
How's life?
Sir.
Going good. Yeah?
Good.
What's new?
Always good.
Well, there's actually quite a bit. I would say first off, because I want to talk about it, is I've been playing Expedition 33, Claire Obscure.
This game's been popping off.
Expedition
yeah.
33.
Game Pass. Really good game. I'm a couple hours into it. Story is really interesting. It feels fresh. And it managed to hook me. And it's a turn-based game, but there's like a little bit of... It keeps you involved because there's like... You can parry and you can dodge attacks and stuff like that.
It's definitely not the type of, at least from what I've experienced, and I'm really early, but like you can't just, it's not like true turn-based in that if you just sit there and wait for your turn, like you have to constantly be paying attention to what's happening.
Yeah, because you parry the boss's attacks or the enemy's attacks, and it really does a lot of damage. And it's interesting because it takes from a few games, like as far as its combat system, because you have the Final Fantasy like Persona inspiration with like the turn-based, but then I don't know if you've noticed, Kyle, but it feels almost like a Dark Souls inspiration too with the flags. Have you found those yet?
Like I said, I'm really early.
So there's these flags throughout. They're the expedition flags. You can rest at them. It respawns the enemies, and then you can. It's like Dark Souls, and then you can upgrade there.
Bonfire-esque.
Mm-hmm. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. Just started it, so I don't really have much to say besides it seems interesting, and I'm excited to keep playing it. I know you've also been playing it, Kyle. Any thoughts?
So far, like I said, all I've done is the prologue, but it was really good, like narratively speaking. Gameplay, I don't think I've done enough to really like soak that all in. I mean, there is a fair amount in the prologue, but like the story-wise, it's already starting to hook me for sure.
Did they land on the island for you yet?
Yeah,
okay.
I think so. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see what your take is after you put a lot of hours into it. Wonder what the like time to beat is on that right now.
I don't know. It feels like a big game.
It feels like it could be.
It feels like it's going to be pretty big. Because I don't know.
Is it the map size, or what makes you think that?
So right after the prologue, it says Act 1, and it says, what's his name? Germain. Do you remember, Kyle?
Gustav?
No,
that's the main guy. Who are you talking about?
I think it does say Gustav. Okay. It says Act 1 Gustav, and it's like, oh, shoot, they're going to have me play as multiple people. To me, in a game that's like Final Fantasy-ish, when I see that, I feel like it's going to be a longer one because they're going to get me invested in each story. And it's not going to be fast.
Right now is without a lot of time on side content, it'd be about 30 to 35 hours.
Okay.
With a more completionist playthrough,
It's quite a big game.
About 70 to like really soak it all in. Yeah.
So I think
a big game.
Do you like turn-based?
It really depends on the depth of combat.
Okay.
But yeah.
I think story-wise, I think it would be a story you'd be interested in just because it's very stakes-driven and very much...
There's weight to it.
There's weight and there's, at least so far, there's always movement towards the goal.
How's the combat play out? Like, obviously it's turn-based, but what's...
So, it based on your speed is what character goes first. You'll either attack a character or use a skill, and you build up these action points, and the action points allow you to use other skills, and then there's like different classes, like the mage, you like want to build up these element charges, and then you can use them to like buff your damage with other things. But so
there's resources and things like that you have to manage independent of your class.
Kind of, but the thing I like so far, and it's another inspiration from like the Souls games, is from what I've seen, most of the resources refresh upon rest. So I don't feel afraid
that.
to use them
Love that.
because I know I'm going to get them when I rest again.
Do you get pretty much a rest every time you get into combat? Or
No.
is the world so densely like how long does a fight take?
So fights can take, I'd say, so far where I'm at.
Is it like 2 to 3 turns each, or
Depends on the enemy. I would say the average combat is like 4 minutes right now. And that's just the basic enemy. Bosses, of course, take longer, but so and the way they space it out, I've really only ever run into maybe 3 combat interactions in between rest spots. So that was a little extraneous, but you get like flasks that you can use to full heal your party. And right now I have 2, and I know I'm probably going to get more. So you can heal your party in between rest stops.
okay?
But
ultimately, I was trying to find like if there's a different word for it than just turn-based, but it's still ultimately it's turn-based, but they call it like a risk-reward turn-based, meaning that like there's like dodge timing, parrying, like you have to be paying attention to these things because like say for instance you get attacked or you're making an attack. You do it, your attack is more effective if you like do it at the right time. Like it's not just like a mindless click, and not that that's mindless, but it's not like it's more high intensity than like a typical turn-based.
It's turn-based with real-time actions.
Turn-based with real-time actions, and so if you're not a fan of turn-based, you might be able to put up with something like this because it's still you still have to be like in it.
Well, I don't actually have anything against turn-based. I mean, one of my favorite combat systems of all time was Divinity: Original Sin. I thought that was such a polished combat system. I go back to some of the old original Pokemon games that I played the hell out of as a kid. Loved those. I don't have it as a problem, but it sounds like there's quite a few things. It's interesting that it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
I know it's a smaller studio, so people have been really super supportive of that. I think this is the year that AAA sort of like takes a step back and these indie games continue to pop off. I mean, I say the year, but I really mean like more of like a movement, because I feel like we have seen some incredible games in the last 18 months pop off.
Well, you have like Baldur's Gate 3.
Studios. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3.
Which they're no longer a small studio after that.
No, definitely not. I can't think of any. Oh, Pal World, Black Myth Wukong. Like a lot of these studios that maybe aren't as big or as rooted in like AAA. Yeah. You could even call, which I think is kind of funny, like Souls, like From Software.
At one point in time.
Yeah.
Now, I mean.
Now post Elden Ring, I don't think you can call it that. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing kind of a resurgence in that. And this is, let's just put it this way, like this Expedition 33, this is not still a small studio. This is a tens of millions dollar operation. Oh, Path of Exile popping off too.
No.
But like, they still have 30 developers.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's not. I think we're seeing the rise of AA.
It's not Rockstar.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're seeing the rise of AA.
It's funny. The developer of this game too. He was kind of bummed out at first. He was like, "Look, I have nothing against like it's a lovely game, and I'm happy that people got it. But Oblivion Remastered, like Shadow launched on the same day as this game, and he was like." Damn, because they've been working so hard and they had this date announced and then this mega thing just like randomly dropped. And so I'm happy that didn't actually like shadow this game as much as the developer thought it was going to, because this game is really starting to pop off like social media wise. People are really starting to so I'm excited for that. But yeah, I guess that's one thing I didn't, because we were talking about how like those shadow launches are exciting and it's a good way to like, you know, get a like market a game almost, because it builds all this hype around something. But I didn't think about the effect that would have on
other games,
on like small studios, you know, and stuff like they put their whole this is a throwaway game for Bethesda, and then these people have put their whole like careers
Yeah.
on the line for this.
Well, so like, let's talk about that. I changed the title on what we're talking about here to Oblivion. But are you guys a little bummed to see the kind of success that this has? Like, Oblivion launched on Game Pass, right? So it was available there, so people didn't have to buy it. And then it had Steam. I could pull up the Steam charts. But at one point, from what at least what I saw, it reached well over 100,000 concurrent players.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know it's like a beloved game, but does it bum you out at all, like to see opportunities from these other studios, or to see how popular just remilking the same old game?
So
It
it doesn't
can be.
bum me out. I do think I can see why the developers, I forget their name, but of Clair Obscur are kind of like maybe a little bummed out about that. But ultimately, it didn't hurt them in the way that they thought it would. But I also, people are like calling this like the big Bethesda comeback because it's being received very positively.
Sandfall Interactive.
Yeah, it's being received very positively, but I think that there's a couple problems with that. One is this game wasn't actually remastered by Bethesda. It's their game, but it was only published by them. It was a different company that remastered it. And then for two, this is using Unreal Engine 5, and it's a part of the reason it looks so pretty is just because that engine is pretty. I don't think it takes like, I'm not shitting on developers. Let me be clear about this, but I don't think that it takes like an amazing studio to pull off a pretty game like this, like with that engine.
Yeah. There's no vision required. It's copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't think that this is as indicative of Bethesda's comeback as people are they're making it seem. You know,
Fanboy's
like,
gonna fanboy.
yeah, like there's also I played it. I have like, I don't know, like 6 hours into it. My problem, and I've talked very negatively about Oblivion when we've gone back and forth. But that being said, I played it a lot.
You probably have the most hours out of us.
I probably have somewhere
'Cause
around like 100 hours into Oblivion, like the original one, back in like 2012, because I played it after Skyrim. And I had some decent times on it. But even at that time, I recognized it wasn't really on the level of Skyrim, like gameplay-wise and all that. So when I go back and I play this, it's a very pretty game, but it feels so much like a game that was developed in 2006. Like, it doesn't feel like it's weird. It's hard to explain. Like, it's a pretty game that plays and looks and like feels like an old game. You almost forget that it looks pretty after you've been playing for a while.
Because it feels clunky.
Yeah, it feels clunky. The dialogue is still memes. It's still like, it's just like not what I was originally expecting when I saw the trailer. You see it and you're like, wow, this looks amazing. And then when you play it, you're like, this is Oblivion. It's still Oblivion. And so like, people wouldn't like this because there's all those memes about Skyrim re-releasing all the time. But for me, I would have much rather Skyrim be given this treatment.
I'm sure it will,
Maybe
with how popular this one's been.
that, or they're just testing out the waters on Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
You know,
Um,
Well, I got it on the screen here, so it hit over 200,000 concurrent players. So that means I'm going to say they had sold at least 500,000 copies. I'll just say that. That's probably on the low end of that. They probably sold a lot more than that. So
these are just PC numbers too. The
Yeah.
game launched on all three.
so all three platforms,
all
right?
three platforms.
So just on PC, they made at least $10 million. Just on PC, not including Game Pass launch and whatever they're paying for that, which I'm sure there's a whole like hours log formula that they do there, and then all the other consoles as well. Like, this probably netted them well over in excess of $100 million. Like, you know what I mean? And this is just at launch for a rehashing a game. And I guess the only reason why I bring it up is, and I'll transition back to us, but the only reason why I bring it up is because I've seen this trend. It's like World of Warcraft Classic. It's like all this old shit that just gets kind of a new bumper plate slapped on there, and they bring it back, and it's just nostalgia,
No.
and it's just kind of boring. Like
I will say,
I love. If I was a fan of this, I would love this, and I get why people love this, but
exactly.
I
think
just feel like we're in the same place for so much entertainment options where it's just like what sells is what's already sold.
if you are still a fan of Oblivion and you love that game because it has a special place in your heart for a lot of people, I imagine it would for me too if I played it in 2006.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then you can't ask for more than what this is
Yeah.
perfect for you. This is a must have. But for everyone else, I think maybe it's not gonna quite hit in the way that they maybe wanted to.
Well, and my one counter to you, Billy, or if I understood where you're going with it, is I would be upset if this was the only game they were working on. But they aren't. This was like a side project, that they had, and they're working on Elder Scrolls 5 and who knows what else. 6. And so I'm not upset by it because I know if they did a Fallout New Vegas, I'd be playing it for hours because I love that game, and I'll even play it now with like the old graphics, and to have it in Unreal Engine would be amazing. So I'm not too upset because it's not their main thing. Like there's other games on the horizon they're making. This was more of, I don't know. It is kind of a cash grab.
If someone re-released Knights of the Old Republic on Unreal Engine 5 and it played the exact same way,
You're buying everyone a copy.
then that would be the greatest thing of all time for me.
Guild Wars 1,
100%.
Unreal
No,
Engine.
and that's what I'm saying. And I'm not mad because I mean, to easily get $100 million, you could have some side studio do it. Like, I get why you do it. It makes total business sense. I would do it too. But I guess my point is, at the end of the day, I'm just bummed because even though it's not their main thing, they still had dedicated resources working on this. And I would just rather see those people doing creative new things. I just feel like there's so many areas that are unexplored for cool things, and we just like never see that.
Well, if the leaks are true, and part of the leaks was about this, then we have a Fallout 3 remaster in the works, and potentially a New Vegas one in the works. I don't remember if there's a Skyrim one. There might be, but they're working. They might be in the works.
Well,
Leaked.
like this is why not?
Yeah,
Like I said, this is like easily just off of like really conservative math. This $100 million that they just generated in revenue.
and how much work did they really have to put into it? I mean, I'm sure they put in a lot, but not as much as a completely.
But like we see this now. This is Unreal Engine 5, and then when Unreal Engine 7 comes out, they could just redo it and get another $100 million. Like, and I just don't. I don't like that. I don't like it with movies because they just rehash and recreate movies, and they're quick cash grabs. And it's great if you're a fan of that and you get a refreshing, and I understand why it exists. It just bums me out that those resources could be better used in new and exciting stuff. And I just feel like we have, like, I want more Expedition 33s. You know what I mean? And that's
I can agree there.
That's at the end of the day, I think, what I'm kind of working at.
Like, the one thing that stuck out to me the most about that game is how fresh it feels. It doesn't feel like
A rehashing of anything.
Yeah, it feels completely original. Like, it's the story's original. The combat, of course, like I said, it has inspirations and stuff, but it just feels like a fresh idea. And those are getting rarer to come by. Or at least find. I think it's the same issue as like movies, of there's just so much now that it's hard to find the good ones. And if they are found, we usually hear about it, but it has to have like
There's just so much noise.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, there are so many platforms with like entertainment options and film options that you're like, oh, this guy's one of my favorite actors. I didn't even know they did that movie. And you're just like, what? So that's just the world we live in.
I just found out that Sean Bean is in Oblivion.
Like as a voice actor?
Yeah, he plays like one of the main dudes, and I played that game, like I said, I don't know how much, and I didn't know that. Like, I knew that Patrick Stewart was, Uriel Septim, but he dies, like, in the first, 5 minutes of the game. But I didn't know that Sean Bean was,
Huh.
That would have been like right after Lord of the Rings, so he would have been a pretty big name actor.
Yeah. Plays Martin Septim, the bastard child of Uriel Septim.
Of Professor X, you mean?
Yeah.
Father
So-
and son.
Moving from Oblivion, we've been doing a little Guild Wars 1 playthrough.
We have. We
And
just started it.
We just started it. We started with the first game, Prophecies. We had the playthrough. So Dylan's playing as a ranger, Kyle's playing as a warrior, I'm playing as a monk, as the healer, support bitch. Which I've never. One of my original mains was monk, but I never, other than playing it hardcore, I never really just played it to play it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm kind of theory crafting a fun build that I want to play, and now my wife just got into the playthrough. She's going to jump into the playthrough, but she has a character ready for when we all jump back in as an elementalist. And then I got a cool couple build ideas that she can leverage because she'll just end up running whatever I tell her to. So she's got a couple options there as an elementalist. That was her favorite class going through was. So we did all 4 playthroughs. Prophecies, Factions, Nightfall, Eye of the North, and she played as a Necro, a Ritualist, and an Elementalist for the last 2, and she loved it the most. So she wanted to play that again. So she's now gonna have a character leveled through the Prophecies as a class that she likes. So we've just finished with pre-searing, and we went to post-searing, which is we see the world changed now. It's all
3 years
scarred
later.
over, 2 years later.
2.
Yeah, because you're just little cadets, you're little babies. You're going through this very calm, peaceful world, and you're just starting your journey. So then now it's 2 years later, and you've completed your training, and you're ready to
But at what cost?
advocate. Well, at the cost of Ascalon, the whole city's fallen.
The little girl.
Gwen is dead, or is she?
She's the final boss.
Don't spoil this game for me.
Yeah.
It's been out for.
It's been fun. I'm really enjoying playing it with you guys. I got a couple ideas for my monk to super boost your character. There's a skill that I can prot onto you that basically you do a lot of base damage just naturally. So because we don't really need that much healing support initially, so I can kind of split that, kind of help you guys with damage and stuff. So we'll kind of play it by ear depending on what we need, but because we're not playing hardcore, so we don't care if we die. But yeah, Kyle's already adventured off in a couple things where we'll be running one way and I just see him dying halfway across the map. I got fucking haul ass.
The barbarian.
Yeah, he's popping just like a good classic warrior, popping frenzy, so he takes double damage. Hammering fucking away. And then using healing stick on top of that, so he has even more like negative 40 armor.
Yep.
It's just tough goings, but it's been fun.
The output.
The damage.
It's been fun.
The damage is about normal still.
But we have this is where you start to learn a lot of skills through questing and stuff. And that's one of the things I like about this game is you learn it through doing quests, and it comes at you pretty quick. Like there's like 1,000 skills in this game or something like that. So it comes at you fast, and you feel like you can kind of find your own niche play style pretty quickly. Kind of figure that out. So
And I feel like so far, at least where we're at, and we're very early, how I've unlocked skills, it hasn't been overwhelming. And it's not a big list I choose from. I get it from a quest, and then I can sit there and I can be like,
how does this play into everything?
let me see what. Yeah. And I can judge it rather than, oh, here's all 50 skills. Choose which one you want. And I'm like,
Or where some games, it's like, exactly, like you go to a vendor or whatever, and it's like, here's all your skills that you could purchase, and here's or one of the things I fucking hate is, and Shadow Mordor has this, and it bothers me. Here's your entire skill tree figured out. Diablo 4, same thing. Here you fucking, and they do it a little better because you can only do certain areas as you progress down, but you're just fucking overwhelmed. It's like, you get points, And it's like, do I unlock all 5 skills or do I just max out one skill? Like, it's overwhelming.
Well, like Path of Exiles.
Path of Exiles is one of the worst examples.
You have like this huge spreadsheet,
Skill gem, yeah.
and you're like,
You know who?
It's so bad.
What game does that too? Specifically, if you're playing like any of the Magic characters, is Baldur's Gate. Every time you level up and you
Really?
get a new spell, you have so many spells.
That's right. It gives you all
off
of them right off the bat.
And then you get more and more as you level up. But like level 1 spells, there's like 40 of them, and you
Wow, I
can't.
don't even remember that.
And
Wow.
you can't equip all of them, so you can only equip like 4 to begin with. So you're like, I have no idea which ones
the
I
fuck
should
to
have
do, yeah.
on my
Well,
character.
and then they don't explain that you also have like a spell book that like you can come and you can switch out your spells.
Yeah.
Totally whiffed on that.
Yeah.
And then in Path of Exile, makes it worse because you could play any spell or action from any class at any given time.
Yeah.
So you're just like bombarded with so much shit. So there's, I would agree with you. Like while there are a lot of options, at least in this game, it paces it really well to where and then you get to play with it and you go, oh, you know what? I don't really like that skill, and you drop it out and stuff. So
Yeah, because I feel like right now, by it being a quest to get a skill, it allows me during that quest, I'm testing my build, right? And I can find a skill that I'm like, fuck this. And then I get a new skill, and I'm like, you know what, let me take out this one, try this new one here, and then kind of just
play with it that way.
build it that way, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I think specifically Prophecy is very slow. Like you'll see as we kind of go through our playthrough, it is slow goings. But I like that for your first playthrough. The other games speed it up because they expect you've already played the first one, which is fine. But like this one, we'll be like 25 hours in before we hit even level 20. So
Level 20 is max, right?
yeah.
Okay.
But what's really cool is this game is so unique in the fact that levels don't really mean anything. I was thinking about this really hard. Between the energy, like you don't gain extra energy management, like what your energy recovery time is, that's set from level 1 to 20.
Huh.
How much energy you have is set. You can add gear that gives you a little bit more, but it's kind of like a trade-off. So that doesn't really change unless you're an elementalist, which that's a very niche thing. But because they have like one of their stat lines you can spec into and it gives you more energy. But everybody else, like, so it's really the abilities that make you more powerful and your weapons and like what weapon you're using. But other than that, like someone who's level 5 that has some decent skills unlocked can pretty much keep on par with someone who's level 20. Maybe like someone who's level 10, because you can have like, let's say you're a ranger, right? You've used marksmanship, right, to do extra damage with a lot of your bow attacks. If you were like level 8 or 9, you would have that at like 9 or 10. You'd have that spec'd into at 9 or 10 pips. And you would be doing relatively similar damage to someone who had that like max level, perfect gear and stuff like that. So it's much more designed around your skills and stuff like that. What scales with your levels is your health. And so it plays a little unique there. And I've got some cool ideas for our team comp that we've got going. Because one of the coolest abilities for Ranger is called Barrage, and you call down 6 arrows, and it's on like a 1 second cooldown. So you could just basically like fucking spam it.
God damn.
And I want to so Rana has this skill, because we're going to get to a certain point, and then I want her to switch to her main Ellie, just because as we go through it, she'll unlock it on that character and not have it on this side character. But I ran her a side character to progress with us until that point. But she has this skill that basically does, if you do physical damage, which you both do, and I want her to be prodding you both with this, so you're doing extra damage. This skill is so good. It does extra bonus damage, so each of you just passively will get additional bonus damage if she keeps this enchantment on you. And then you have like a 20% or 30% chance with every attack to knock them down.
So if I'm doing barrage,
so if you're fucking barraging and you're trying to target the enemies that are grouped, you're gonna see so much extra bonus damage and knocking them down. And then I don't know what Kyle's playstyle is gonna end up being, but like My favorite thing for Warrior was always a hammer, just because I love going in there and just fucking stomping the ground and like knocking everyone over. Because interrupting and crowd controlling the enemy in this game is so important. Like you guys kind of felt it just in the early playthrough. It can get overwhelming like that if you aggro a second group. It's like, oh shit, we don't have enough pressure to keep up with this. And if a fight takes too long, you burn out of energy and then you're fucked, right? And so that happens all the time throughout the game. So if you can control them to where you're knocking them down, they can't really get a lot of attacks off. That pressure never happens. So there's a lot of cool things that I'm kind of coming up with, like build ideas of how we can kind of fitting in with kind of what I see you guys liking. Like I'll make different recommendations and stuff. So it'll be fun. There's, like I said, this game it's called Build Wars. So there's like you can literally choose any path you want and kind of make it viable. So there's so many options.
I'm
But
excited.
I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I think I want to do like. Do you think we should stream it? So I put that on like the title, like what should we do as next playthrough? But do you think we should stream on like, because our plan is every Thursday night. Do you think we should do a stream, or do we just play with us? Like if I were to set it up on my PC,
We could do
would
a
that be
stream.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dylan and I are like just huge noobs, so I don't know how enticing that would be for someone to, for a game this old. It's not like people are going to be watching to see if they're going to get into it.
Well, there's like five.
You know what I mean?
There's like 500 people watching it on Twitch because of the 20th year anniversary, and there's a lot of the big Guild Wars 2 streamers have come into Guild Wars 1 to play, and they're playing
Interesting.
through all the games right now.
Huh.
So
Yeah. I mean, why
we
not?
can kind of pick up on that a little bit. Maybe I'll.
I mean,
I'll
like
look into setting it up.
when we were doing Guild War or
Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate, eventually it doesn't even feel like you're streaming, so you almost forget.
Mhm.
And we're just
Yeah.
playing and chit chatting, you know.
Well, I think I want to set. I think I want to set that up. Set
We
this
should.
up for us. I was playing around with Stream Elements last night to see if we could do that and how viable that would be. But yeah, I'm down for that. I think that would be a lot of fun. And like I said, if your wife ends up wanting to join, I can get her
think
into
she would.
position where now we've got pretty much a full squad. That would be fucking fun. I haven't had a full squad to play Guild Wars in ever. Like, that's crazy.
Even in your clan days?
No, I mean you always did. But like usually, so you know how when we were playing, we kind of had we had a henchman with us. Remember that his name was Orion or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like anybody can grab. They're just standing in the outpost. So you can add them to your team and have them play with you. Later on in the game, we unlock what's called heroes. And heroes give you the full. It scales up the complexity of the game as for someone playing it, but which is why it kind of comes later. But with henchmen, you can't. It's just that's them. That's their
They're
skills. They're
pre-programmed.
pre-programmed to do that. With heroes, you can control their gear, their skills, what class they are, everything. And so once that came out with Nightfall, everybody pretty much just ran with like full heroes, and then that was that. So you didn't usually do like missions with players. I mean, you could, but you would usually just kind of maybe grab one or two people, throw on some heroes, and go.
Humans
So-
were too unpredictable.
Exactly. So if we could have a healer in our group, because right now we're at 4-person content. We're gonna get to 6-person content soon. If we could have a healer in our group, and then I can run that sort of like split function where I'm like doing damage and then maybe adding a little protection. I think we can start to see some pretty good damage output.
Nice.
Clean up some shit.
Oh yeah.
But it'll be fun. I'm excited. I'm juiced. This is how you guys must have felt when I played Mass Effect. 'Cause
Yeah.
this
That
is
was a
how
lot
I
of
feel.
fun to watch you play through that and to be on the Discord with you as besides the Rex thing.
Well, that wasn't live. That's when you guys decided like this man needs help. Somebody.
No, we
Somebody
were
help this
we
poor
were
man.
watching even at that point, but it was one night where like
Oh,
we-
was it?
yeah, we both were like, oh, we got other stuff going on, and it was the one night we weren't watching you, and then like literally like you're like, I'm just gonna play a little bit, and then like an hour later you're like, does Rex have to die? And I was like, is he fucking kidding right now?
After we
Is he
specifically
meaning? Like, and you're like, I felt like I didn't have a choice.
That was the most shocking thing ever because I know how much of a beloved character. I mean,
Yeah.
I had seen playthroughs,
Like,
I had
did-
watched full playthroughs of it, like, and then for him to just die so
Did you think that he was
weakly.
like dead, or did you think he was gonna come back? Or
I had no idea what to think. That's kind of why I texted you guys because I'm like, that's weird.
like, does he?
She just shot him in the face. Like, here's this beloved guy and
Didn't
killed
even
by
give
the
you a
worst
chance.
character.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
Ashley,
Did you talk to them all? It's like I could save a life just by having a conversation downstairs in the
finding
equipment bay.
his arm. You hadn't talked to him enough, so your only option was you had to go to the obscured planet
Get the
to
armor.
get his family armor. then he could be like, "Remember, I
I
got
could be
your
like, yeah,
armor
yeah,
for you."
You flub it to get to that point.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Because then what's it? Is it Groot? What's not Groot?
Grunt.
Grunt. I knew it was something like that for the second
Groot.
game, and then Rex comes back in a big way on the third game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Citadel. He's a
Yeah,
lot
but
in
like
that.
no, his whole story arc in 3 is huge because he's curing the genophage. He's leading the Krogans to help on the Palaven front and all that, and like somehow he went from like just clan chief to leader of all
Krogans.
Tachanka because like he's just been like rallying clans since the first game. So like without him, that significantly changes 3.
Well,
Not so much the game itself, it just changes the lore implications of
Yeah.
what actually happens.
Can you even max out 3 without him?
No.
Like
Well,
to get the third option?
Ironically, you can.
You
the
can't.
So the reason
You can't.
you can.
Oh, okay.
And so the reason you can
So just lower the bar.
is no, you can betray the Krogans, and not do the genophage cure.
and
but-
then trick them.
But
to fight for you.
and then Rex's stand-in when
Reeve.
Rex is dead, Reeve, he's too stupid to ever figure that out.
but Rex.
But
if
Rex
you-
always figures it out, and you lose all of Krogan's support if you do that. But you don't if it's Reeve because he's dumb, and so you can actually get all of the Solarian support and Krogan support by Rex being dead. But then you have to
Yeah.
kill your buddy and all of the Krogan people to do so. So it's like, is it worth it? No.
Well, what about one of my favorite storylines was the Arachne.
Yeah, Arachne.
Arachne. Just because I thought it was so funny. So there's this crippled. Basically, they have no one in their society, right? They haven't reproduced, and then you save their queen,
Yeah.
right?
you saved the queen in one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, you did.
I maxed that game out. I had every. I
You
all
did
the resources. I did
Everything you could do while still being Paragon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a good nuance there. So I just thought it was so funny because is it 3 when you recruit them to help you or whatever, like you convince
Yeah.
the queen or whatever. So you go and you do that mission. It's like this severely crippled because they basically have been holding the queen hostage, blah, blah, blah. And she like joins your effort after you save her or whatever. And again, you find him in like the worst cultural and civilization state, and yet I think they single-handedly contribute the most of any like support ever, because it's like, oh yeah, you go do one other mission and you get a report, it's like they've multiplied into the millions. And you're like, what the fuck is that? How the hell did they already have that many people?
Like, and then one of the engineers said they have an ability to understand alien technology in a way that other organics just can't wrap their head around. And so, like, they're just become key to finishing the Crucible. And, like, all of just this, like, bug race.
That communicates with music.
Yeah, they,
Oh, I don't really remember that.
so they communicate through, like, they call it music, but it's more like frequency. Like, so it's not, like, actually, like, mind control, but they communicate through, like, frequencies that aren't aren't perceptible by humans.
So they can have conversations way far away with
They can have conversations with each other
Okay, they're
way far
superior
away,
in every fucking way.
Yeah.
which is why until the Krogans were uplifted, every other race was severely losing that war. That would be an interesting. I would love to see the Rachni Wars in like a game. That would be because the Rachni Wars was the first actual major threat. The Rachnis were the first major threat to galactic civilization, and they were losing badly. And the only reason they didn't is they saw the Krogan, and the Solarians like, man, these fucking Krogan are crazy. And they uplifted them and said, here, we'll give you a planet if you
Fuck off and
kill
fight
the
this,
Rachni.
yeah.
And because the Rachni would happen every time they would start to lose numbers, they would go back into their planet,
Just breed.
multiply like crazy, come back like a year later with millions of more forces, because their planet, where they were in the universe, was too hostile to like every other except the Krogan. The Krogan were the only race because they have like all these backup organs and nerves and redundant nervous systems. The Krogan were able
coolest
to
species of
follow
all time.
them into their planet and basically hunt them to what they thought was extinction.
Well, and before the Genophage, they reproduced really quickly as well, right?
The Krogan also
Well, the
reproduced
Krogan,
like
that's
rabbits.
why
Yeah,
the Genophage
rabbits.
occurred, because
Yeah.
it was like, we have to control this.
Yeah, and so they uplifted the Krogan. The Krogan fucked up the Rachni, and they're like, "Oh, sweet! Like this, this is great." But they did like, and then the Krogan were like, "All right, now what? I guess we're gonna start taking this planet. We're gonna start going," and they start going crazy. And then the Genophage, because they also would. Have like every Krogan would have like hundreds of kids that would grow to maturity, like to be able to fight and be like, in like 10 years.
Yeah, I was gonna
like
say
something-
super
yeah.
quick. For some reason, I remember like 2 years. Yeah.
maybe even like 2, something
Yeah.
like that. And they're
And
already like
they'd have
adult.
like 40 kids like in each wave or something crazy.
yeah. And then the Genophage made it to where only one, I think it was 1 per 1,000 births actually made it to.
Yeah.
And
What
talk
if
about a brutal way to end a war. The Solarians are always doing fucking shit like that because that's how they win wars.
Oh,
is they
exactly.
outthink everyone.
They're not going to out
Yeah.
strength, them. That's diabolical. There's always like, that's like the coolest thing about like Marvel too is, well, this versus this, and they fight, and it's always done in a vacuum. Like, who's physically stronger? Well, in this case, it's like the Arachni Krogan. Clearly, the Krogans won because they were able to force them down. But the Krogans versus Solarians, like, Krogans win all day long. But it's like, wait a minute,
Not
the Solarians have all
Yeah.
that extra technology, and they won. So it's like,
Uh.
but you'd never say like a Solarian's stronger than you know what I mean? So it's like the culture steps in. That's why I love Mass Effect, because that diversity of all these backgrounds are
a lot
crazy.
of gray too, and like the storytelling, at least. And then,
for imagination, right?
yeah, like until the Reapers show up, then it's very much like good guys, Reapers.
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Well,
but like
Batarians.
Batarians, but even
Existential
then,
threat.
towards the third one,
Well,
the
you need the
Batarians-
fucking Batarians.
Do we? No, I'm kidding.
You do? Do you want that third option?
I was
But I
being
do think-
Space Race's shepherd of fuck the Batarian.
I don't need to.
bomb them.
I don't need like
Blow up
a
their whole system.
Arachni War Krogan Rebellion game, but I do think that would be like a good miniseries
Yeah.
or something like an animation or even like a live action, but like probably better at like animation.
Well,
I would like to see that as like a series, the whole thing unfold.
That'd
Like
be
them
sick.
getting uplifted, fighting the Arachni, then the Krogan Rebellion Wars, and ultimately the Genophage. Like I think that would be a really cool thing to watch unfold.
well, going back to what you were saying about the gray with Mass Effect, I really enjoy that because it allows a lot of space for imagination. Like one of my favorite parts of the Krogan is we don't know how long they live because they
It's never
die.
been Oh,
Like because they die in battle, so we don't know how old a Krogan can get because they just always.
it's never been evident.
They
Yeah.
say no Krogan has ever died of natural causes because they're just that.
This
like-
is the perfect species.
Yeah, and the oldest one ever recorded was I think the one in Andromeda. He was like
Crag or
1,400 years, like even older than that. But they potentially could just live forever. Nobody knows.
Let me ask you this. What if we could snap a finger and every woman on planet Earth was able to have 500 kids? Like that was a normal pregnancy, that they would get pregnant with 500 kids and they would hit maturation within 18 months of being born. Like they'd be an 18-year-old adult. What do you think the population would get to? on planet Earth before it
We
collapsed.
would
'Cause
have-
they say the 10 billionth person on planet Earth will never be born just because of how population rates have. So
Yeah.
like we potentially live in the world where there's the most human beings that will ever exist.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, like, if that were to occur, what do you think would happen?
I think we would turn into a species like the Krogan. That's the whole reason they are the way they are. Is because there's
They just
so
dominate and
much.
fight each other.
They just are always at war all the time because there's always so many coming in, and then that's why they also dwindled so quickly after the genophage, is because they didn't change the way they were.
So they just kept fighting.
They
Yeah.
just kept fighting and being the same, and nothing got replenished. And next thing you know, they're just
When they had access to nukes.
a handful of chiefs before.
But that probably didn't
clans.
affect them. They got they were fine with the radiation poisoning.
Well, they nuked each other. Like they had infighting.
Right, but like that didn't kill them all off like it would humans. You know
Did
what I
they
mean? 'Cause
have- So when they were uplifted, they were in their equivalent of like an industrial age, I
Yeah.
think. And then once they were uplifted, that's when they were kind of given access to this technology they weren't ready for. Nukes, they were nuking each other, just going crazy, running out of room on their planet, and then they just started taking planets without permission and saying we live here now, and like just stuff like that. Like it was crazy. Like you can see from the Solarians' perspective, like it's still a fucked up thing to do, but you can see from their perspective, like we gotta figure out how to halt this. Like this is
I can never though take the Daltras's
not in 3.
not in 3 when she tries to get you to like to betray the Krogans.
No.
I can't.
No. Especially after talking to Rex and Eve and
Well, and the whole universe like is about to be obliterated by the Reapers, and
and we're not gonna
This is what we're focusing on.
yeah.
like the whole universe is coming to an end, and you're telling me we are not going to use our strongest allies? Like, meh, we don't need them. I'll take as much as we were just praising the Solarians for fighting the way they do. That doesn't work against the Reapers. You need Krogan.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think they wipe? Do you think the Reaper? This is an interesting question. Would the Reapers have killed and wiped out the Krogans? Because they only do that to the advanced civilizations. Do you think the
It
the Krogans
depends.
obviously served a very war purpose effort, but were they advanced enough? Like the Asari were really advanced the previous cycle, but they didn't get snipped until this cycle.
So it depends. For one, they were delayed. The Reapers had to come in through dark space because the Protheans did like a final ditch effort thing to stop them from jumping in hyperspeed. So they're actually like thousands of years late. The Reapers, they're normally they're a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So the Krogan got uplifted. What was it, like 1,000 years before the events of Mass Effect? Meaning that it's very likely that the Krogan would have just been passed over because this cycle.
If they weren't uplifted.
If they weren't uplifted, and the
uplifted
Reapers,
means to join the galactic group,
Well,
right?
yeah,
the
Yeah.
basically you go in and you just advance their society really quickly
Yeah.
because you
Catch 'em up.
show them everything.
Yeah.
If the Protheans didn't delay the Reapers in the way they did, and the Reapers arrived when they were supposed to, 100% they wouldn't have done anything to the Krogan. But if they were never uplifted, I still think it's a possibility because I think they would have harmed themselves before they became advanced enough to even though it's been 1,000 years. I don't think that was enough time for the Krogan because I feel like they would have evolved a lot slower than these other races.
It'd be interesting.
And the humans, ironically, if the Protheans didn't do what they did, the humans would have been bypassed too, because they would have came like back when we were still
And why did they
building.
choose humans?
What was that?
Why did Protheans choose humans?
No, they
We just
they
found
didn't necessarily. But the Protheans delayed the Reapers by making them come in through dark space.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And so, had they have not done that,
We might not have been uplifted.
we were only like, if they had arrived when they were supposed to arrive, we were still like building pyramids at that time. So the humans would have been ignored too.
Well, and then we found on Mars, we found Prothean tech that boosted us to
Only by a couple hundred years.
Yeah, but still, like,
But then that's how we triggered our uplifting.
The lore reason,
or did the
for it-
Turians attack first?
No, we found the Prothean ruins first. The lore reason for why all these societies, basically, they evolved to the point of like early space travel, find Prothean ruins, and then just go like advance super quickly. The reason is because they say that Protheans like 50,000 years ago, before the Reapers got involved, had established like stations on all these potential like
Life planets
of
for monitoring and stuff.
like they were very like what's the word I'm looking for? They were like a
Kind of like Starship Enterprise, out there to find life, or
No.
they were trying to get races to join their empire.
yeah,
They're like very imperialistic.
growth based.
And so
yeah.
like if they notice that there's like, okay, here's a biped using tools, we're gonna set up a station here, watch their growth. That's the lore reason of why all these like why Mars would have a Prothean station. It makes no sense for that to be there unless they were watching humans 50,000 years ago first doing shit like hunting and stuff.
And obviously, the only reason why any of this succeeds is the Protheans.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
really, truly the
They
best.
were the reason. They were the most advanced society it ever got before they fell to the Reapers, and they're the reason that we even
And if they had,
survived
if
'cause
they
they
even
did everything
they didn't
right.
even delay it, we would have been fucked.
Yeah.
Well, in the Crucible
Which is
though
interesting.
is built upon multiple cycles of civilizations designing it. The Protheans were just the most recent one. Did they say specifically what the Protheans added? I don't, because we don't know how
not
the Crucible
specifically,
works.
but I do believe that the Protheans were the closest.
And we don't even know what it took to finish, right? They leave that all up.
Yeah,
in there, right?
yeah,
It's
that's
like,
kind
we
of-
don't even know what type of weapon it is. We don't even.
They leave it to your imagination.
just
a
like,
bit.
yeah.
But the Protheans were about as close as you could possibly get to succeeding without actually succeeding in winning that war.
And then in a way, they did succeed.
And
It
it
just
also
cost them their extinction.
yeah, and it
Although Javik goes back to
There's two
Yeah, I was
possibilities.
gonna say,
Either
which one
kills
did I get?
himself or he goes on a book
writes
tour.
a book.
But
yeah.
the Protheans, it took the Reapers like hundreds of years to eradicate all the Protheans. Like this was
Like,
not
Because
a
they were
long
so
fight.
spread.
yeah, this was not just like a quick thing.
it was a
So
long
like
cycle.
there were Protheans that lived their entire existence fighting.
Yeah,
Like
I
that's
remember
their
that, actually.
whole that was their whole life.
So the Reapers had a hell of a fight that last
Yeah,
cycle.
it was like literally like close to like 1,000 years or something before the Reapers finally won that war.
Versus
so like
in our cycle, it's only like maybe 20 years.
in like 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
like
fast.
it would have been way quicker if we would have been eradicated. I think Liar estimated if the fight didn't end in the way they did, it probably would have took them around 100 years to get rid of all civilization. Which
What made the Protheans so badass?
they were just
Like really
so
scientifically
a lot of
advanced?
it was because of how they were as an empire. For one, they conquered all these planets. So they would go
So
in,
it's fast.
they would absorb people into
Assimilate.
their empire, assimilate, and then move on. And they would do that over and over. And they were given a choice: you either become Prothean or we're destroying your planet, type of thing. So because they were not necessarily like good people, that actually set up a very powerful enemy for when the Reapers arrived. And then they were very advanced, like just intelligence wise.
Well, and from my understanding, it's the
The way they
Prothean.
communicated too, right?
The Protheans, even besides the race, the reason they were so good is because the Protheans was a collection of all the races that they assimilated. Like it was
Yeah.
when you were, it was like essentially
Combined
like
powers kind of thing.
it will
So
like America, or it was like Europe or America, where it's like you're part of us now, you're American now, and they just went around to tons of species and planets and said you're a Prothean now, otherwise you die. And so they had these multiple species that called themselves Protheans because they had to.
it was actually a melting pot of civilizations that all.
So
had
none
no
of them
choice
look
but
like
to-
Javik.
No, that's like the Javik is the sort of like the prime Prothean.
Quintessential.
That's like
yeah.
what the like. But every intelligent race, if they were around during that time, called themselves Prothean because they were either you got into war with us or you became one of us. And so like it's funny because they, for the longest time, no one could understand in the lore, no one could understand why the Protheans were the only advanced society 50,000 years ago. They're like, what the, like, this doesn't make any sense. They're the only spacefaring, but it's because they changed all the records they rewrote everyone's histories to make them Prothean.
Yeah.
And so like there was all these different civilizations that were Prothean. And that's also the lore reason.
So maybe they weren't as advanced as they were. It's just all things point to Prothean.
Yeah.
So they just were that god tier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's funny because they almost did that as like a retcon, because in the first Mass Effect, the Protheans looked way different.
They looked.
And then they changed their design for Mass Effect like 2 and 3. And then that's how they explained it. It was like, oh, the Protheans that you saw in the first Mass Effect, they were Protheans, but it's because they were like a servant race of the Protheans or whatever, And that's how they fixed that in the lore.
Wow.
Well,
Pretty cool stuff.
didn't mean to go down the Mass Effect.
The Mass Effect rabbit hole.
This is a Mass Effect podcast. We already know this.
You know, we haven't had a talk about it in a long time.
Well, and I brought it up. That's on me. I fucked up.
And you showed interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was game
Well, I
over.
love the story of it. I feel like it's quite underserved in pop culture. I
What?
feel like it's so awesome.
Who was your favorite companion? Looking back now.
Jacob.
God. His
Dude,
dad.
I honestly wish
Daddy issues.
I didn't have to play as Shepard. I think he's like the least interesting person.
Huh.
Like, honestly, his lines are just kind of the.
But who's your favorite?
I know. I'm trying to think. Who's the bot at the end?
Edie?
No,
Or are you talking about Legion?
Legion.
Legion. Yeah.
Legion is pretty badass.
Or the Leviathan.
Oh.
Yeah.
That motherfucker. I get goosebumps on that mission because it's kind of cool. You're fighting on the ship, and then all of a sudden you go into the water and you get into this mech. You're floating down. You're like, oh fuck, it's a Reaper, and then it's like, wait a minute.
This is
It's actually what the Reapers are modeled on, and this guy's ancient as fuck, and he's just hiding like in the water,
millions of years old.
yeah, like doing nothing. Yeah, but probably Legion when you get that motherfucker activated, and you free him from you break his decision. What do you end up
The
doing?
Reaper code?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
break him, and he becomes
And
like independent.
You don't know what's gonna happen, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I think he's on my side. I think.
My favorite. I don't know. I really like. I like Thane a lot. Actually, I really like his story arc.
The assassin, the gay assassin.
I think Garrus. I mean, because Garrus is your bro.
Bro, I totally forgot about Garrus. Yeah,
The
yeah.
gay assassin? Can you romance him as a dude?
No,
Oh, I thought
No.
I thought he had a crazy love arc with Shepard.
with a
Maybe
female
female
shepherd.
shepherd? Okay,
Yeah,
never
if you
mind.
play the femme shepherd.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to bring bad shame on a Thane.
He's badass. How dare you?
Yeah, Garrus. I mean, he's your Garrus and Tally. I think are the two. Cause
Garrus is totally
just
He's the
Homie.
bro.
your bro, and depending on how you play your hoe.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And he's really important to get his race on board too.
Yeah.
He's really, really critical on that. Although they're so like military. Like I don't think like it would have been that hard of a. Like I feel like Garrus is just always there. I feel like Impact though, Legion, like for sure. When you figure that out and flip that switch, it's like
Garrus and Tally.
we got the momentum for this war going.
I think it's because Garrus and Tally are just reliable.
Yeah.
They're with you all three
that's,
games.
That's what I'm saying.
They're
It's
just
too easy.
Well,
they're
and
just your friends.
there's no. I mean, I kind of see, because I more think about it with Legion in the aspect of when Legion dies, or when depending how you do that mission, that is very impactful. Versus Garrus has good parts, but there's nothing that quite hits you on that.
That's what I'm saying. He's just
level.
always there. Yeah.
But he doesn't die, so
He can.
he can.
He could die at the end of Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
You can actually go all of Mass Effect 1 without recruiting Garrus, and then recruit him in Mass Effect 2,
And then kill
having
him.
never even been on your team in Mass Effect 1, and it completely changes the whole intro. Like they
Is he
act
not
like
your bro?
he's not your bro. Like he wasn't even with you. It's so weird how you can play that game if you like really like didn't play it like how we do. Like you can do
If you play it incorrectly.
if you play it incorrectly.
Wrong.
I watched this one guy. He did like the worst ever Mass Effect 3 imported save. It's like he played Mass Effect 1 and 2 as garbage as possible, but still just enough to be able to import it to Mass Effect 3. And it's just like abysmal. It's sad. Like there's also like no hope to get like resources, and you get like the worst ending guaranteed no matter what.
Oh
Like,
man.
and, like all this stuff.
I'd say Rex, probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Although
This is good.
Garrus, close second. Close second. I do like Legion. Thane. Morton's good.
That's all of them.
I mean, yeah.
More than good.
You know,
Go.
Liara,
Yeah,
Tali,
Italia.
Kasumi,
The two engineers down in the engine room.
Jacobs.
Yeah.
Gabby. And,
Gabby, and
Ken? What's his name again? Why am I forgetting his name?
Gabby and
Ben.
Isn't it Ken? Ken Donnelly?
yes,
Gabby Douglas?
Gabby Douglas, Ken Donnelly.
Wait, Gabby Douglas is like a gymnast. I don't think that's it's Gabby something.
I know it's Ken Donnelly.
Gabby. What is her last name? Gabby Daniels.
Daniels.
Gabriella Daniels. Gabby Douglas, the Olympian.
Yeah, you know.
Oh shit.
Whoa.
It's glitching out.
Lost everything.
Well, Dylan, where can people find us?
They can find us. Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still
Okay.
live.
They can find us right here on YouTube, where we stream every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, and then catch us on Thursday, hopefully, streaming Guild Wars 1 in our current playthrough.
Nice.
Yeah, come give us a like,
Doing it.
comment, join chat, say hi,
PPG. Yeah. What?
leave a like,
Just kidding.
subscribe.
With a good KD. Get the dub.
Bye, guys.